This Shabbos is special in so many ways. It's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Iyar. It's the Shabbos between the memories of Yom HaShoah, the valor of Yom HaZikaron, and the Hallel of Yom HaAtzmaut. And it's the Shabbos of a unique period in the days of Sfira, when everyone shares in the customs of mourning, because from this Shabbos and until Lag BaOmer, whether you begin the restrictions of Sfira from Pesach or Rosh Chodesh Iyar, end them at Lag BaOmer or Shavuot, starting today, starting this Shabbos, and for 18 days, everyone mourns the tragedy of Rabbi Akiva's students, great scholars, who died as a result of their failings in the mitzvot of Ben Adam L'Chavero, of interpersonal relationships. This means that these days are days when we all need to learn how we can be better. We need to learn how we can improve our relationships with one another, be more conscious of how we communicate, and extend greater concerns for others, which may be why these parshiot of Tazria, Metzora so often intersect with this Shabbos. Not only because of the obvious, their primary theme of the laws of Tzarat, laws that are so closely linked with Lashon Hara, but also because of an unusual aspect related to the healing of one who was afflicted with Tzarat. As the Torah describes, when a person saw a blemish on his or her skin, v'huva la kohen, that person was brought before the Kohen. And the Kohen would either proclaim him or her pure or impure, or would say that he was unsure and quarantine the person for 7 days. And then, when there was a change in the appearance of the blemish, the person would once again be brought before the Kohen. If things had improved enough, he would proclaim the person ready to undergo the process of purification. But if not, quarantine him or her for another 7 days. But what would happen if the Kohen didn't know the halacha? Or what if the Kohen was a minor? What would happen then? According to the halacha, a Talmid Chacham would be consulted, and he would make then the necessary ruling. And then he would pass that ruling on to the Kohen to proclaim tahor or tamei. Why do that? If the Talmid Chacham was the one who knew the answer, why didn't he just make that proclamation? Why pass it off to the Kohen? In 1984, at a Farbrengen in Crown Heights, the late Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal suggested a reason. He said that it was because Kohanim possessed a special sensitivity to others, a sensitivity that they were charged to possess every time they had to bless people, because only they were required to do the only mitzvah that had to be done b'ahava, with love. No other mitzvah requires the love of another, but to bless the Jewish people does, which is why it was up to the Kohen to determine the fate of one afflicted with tzarat, because only a person who mastered the love of others could be charged with having to banish others, michutz lamachaneh, having to quarantine a person, having to sequester someone even from those who may have been suffering from the very same affliction. This past week, I was speaking with a friend who unfortunately was stricken with COVID-19, but fortunately is now on the road to recovery. And what he shared with me was that beyond the physical toll of this disease, the hardest part of his hospitalization was the 9 days that he spent in isolation, where he was separated from everyone, denied any form of normal human contact. I listened, and I remembered, and I subsequently shared with him the advice that was given by Natan Sharansky. In 1977, Natan Sharansky was arrested by the Soviet authorities and imprisoned for 9 years, half of which was in solitary confinement, and 405 days in a punishment cell. Last month, Sharansky was asked how a person can survive so long in isolation. He said there are 5 things that make it possible. The first was that he reminded himself that he was at war with a dangerous enemy, and whether he would survive or not depended on his behavior. The second was not to make plans into the future based on hopes. Instead, to take one day at a time. Third, do everything possible to preserve a sense of humor. Fourth, he found ways to stay busy, to occupy his mind each and every day. And finally, he said, feel your connection, because we Jews for thousands of years all over the world were scattered, but we always had this feeling that we're part of a big people, great people, with our mutual past, our mutual future, and our mutual mission. Of course, all of what he said applies so clearly to our current situation, because we do face an invisible enemy, and we need to follow the advice of the experts, and we can't, as some tragically have done even in our own community, celebrate as we would like, gather together, even in small settings, because the dangers are real. And even when leaders may disappoint us, we need to do what is right. Let's not forget about a sense of humor. And let's also find ways to stay busy, to occupy our minds. But most of all, we need to feel our connections, feel our responsibilities to others. Remember that in addition to saying Tehillim and reciting our prayers, we must reach out to others, which to me means to take some time and call people, talk to people. Every day at my desk, I make a list of the people I want to call, and I try my best to reach out and connect, because feeling a connection is the most precious gift we have. And when it's taken away from us, it is so severe that only a person who's filled with love, a Kohen, who has learned to bless us bi'ahava, was the one that the Torah charged to inflict the sentence on others. Feel connected and stay connected. Stay safe. Remember that this crisis will pass, but the love that we extend to others, the care we show and the concern we have will never end. And that's the greatest way we can heal this fractured world. Repair the wrongs that were committed so many years ago by those students of Rabbi Akiva, and transform these days of Sphiro into days of growth, of building and strengthening of Klal Yisrael. We need to be there for one another, safely, at a distance, but ever present. Have a wonderful Shabbat and Chodesh Tov.